Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to another Last of Us review discussion podcast. I'm your host, Richard Bailey Jr., and tonight I'm joined by Mr. Adam Vale. How's it going, Adam?
Yeah, what's up? It's going, people. It's going. This is it. Two more episodes left. I don't know how they're gonna squeeze everything in. I don't know how to do.
Hey, we'll see. They might be able to pull it off. Uh, we're also joined by Mr. Carlos Romero. How's it going, Carlos?
Yo, 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 what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah, so what's going on is tonight we're going to be talking about The Last of Us season 1 episode 7 Left Behind. So obviously before I get the conversation started, uh definitely want to hear your comments on what you think about the show so far. Uh and yes, if you enjoy the conversation, please do consider liking this video. Uh, and yeah, because we do want this to be an interactive experience. So I'm very curious if people are watching this show. If you are watching the show, definitely let us know what you think about it in the comment section below. But let's go ahead and let's get into episode 7. And of course, we're just going to start with our initial takeaways as far as what we thought about this episode. So this week, I think I'm going to go to you first, Mr. Carlos Romero. Let
Oh,
us know what you thought. Yeah, let us know what you thought about Left Behind.
there's a couple of things. Number one, I feel like this. I like the way that they invoke the story into this. As part of the motivation of everything with Ellie. Um, I do really like that, but I want to mention this is probably my least favorite episode of the entire series. Overall, it's not that I disliked it or anything. There were just some things that I felt like maybe carried on too long. It felt like some things dragged. Uh, some things that felt like could have been done a little bit better. Uh, but overall, it was pretty good episode. Nothing. The last, one of the things about the Last of Us series so far is that it has so many memorable uh, episodes. So it's hard to just go against all of the ones that have gone so far. So this one, it went over the DLC, as we all know, for those of us that play the game. Um, so we knew what to expect. Uh, a couple of deviations in terms of how a lot of the stuff came about, but I felt like it was a pretty decent episode. But not one of my favorites.
Hey, those were excellent takeaways, Mr. Carlos Romero. I agree with some stuff that you said, but before I give my thoughts, I'm going to go to Mr. Adam Vale and get his thoughts on this episode.
I don't. It was all right. It went a little longer than I expected for the flashback for the DLC stuff with Riley. They really went into it, and it felt more like that Bill episode, the Bill and Frank. And I didn't think they were going to be able to pull that part off again because of time. There's a lot to cover if they're going to cover, like they said, all of game 1 in these 9 episodes. I was like, well, you're not going to find time. I figured they could splice things in. And that's where the episode started with Joel injured. And, he's telling her, Ellie, to just go out there and complete the mission. Head to that location, do what you got to do. And she goes to the door, and then that's when we get the first flashback. And I was expecting a jumping back and forth as she goes out there trying to find supply and stuff. But that's not what happened. It went from touching the doorknob to instantly flashback where she was back in military school, and then where she met Riley, and then the mall, and blah, 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 blah. So there was a lot that happened in the game for that Mustang that I thought would have been great to see when it comes to the action.
Yeah.
But they didn't go down that road. They really focused more on the drama and the talking. And I get it. It's building the character. It's a story. It is listed as a drama. So I get it. But there was so much more that happened that would have been great, like the chase scenes and hiding in different rooms and stuff. Remember when they were trying to get away and then the bite that happens? It wasn't so sudden like we saw in the show. It was like, oops, we got bit. Yeah, me too. Oh man, I didn't. That didn't really do it for me. I was like, all right, whatever. But it was a good episode. But it wasn't one of the best ones.
Excellent takeaways, Mr. Adam Vale. And I have to say, I think all three of us agree. Not the best episode. It's funny you made the comment about episode 3 with Bill and Frank because a lot of people were saying that this episode was going to be heavily criticized, like that episode was, because of some stuff that was in that episode. I didn't have a problem with that because we already knew what the story was as far as Ellie and Riley, and the coming of age story of her first love, so on and so forth. So I didn't have the issue with that. I do agree though that it did feel like it lasted too long.
I kept looking at my watch as I'm watching. Man, wait. Here we go. And I was like, all right, remember what I predicted in the last episode? I was like, if they do this, 30 minutes, half of it dedicated to the flashback, other half dedicated to progressing that story with the Joel and all this stuff from present day. And then I'm looking, I'm like, 45 minutes or 50. Oh man, we got 10 minutes. Nope, this is it. It's this is all we're getting.
I agree 100%, and it's funny because that same day I actually went to the mall and I spent less time than I saw in this particular episode. So that was
Did they have an arcade at that mall that you went to?
They did not have an arcade at the
That's
mall.
what I was going to say. I was pointing out because I don't remember the last time I went to a mall that actually had an arcade like that. It's been so long. They used to be a staple of in every mall. There was an arcade, there was a bowling alley, a movie theater, maybe. Most of the time there was at least connected. And now it's I never see arcades.
Yeah, I know it depends on what mall you go to. Some other malls that are in the area do have arcades here, but the one that I went to does not. That mall might be on its way out.
There is one I know that has a virtual one. Yeah, I guess.
Oh yeah. The virtual ones are out there.
Like those digital. Yeah. Those. All right, keep going. Go ahead.
Oh no, but I will say that I do hope that Ed Boon is getting royalties or some type of besides the recognition, some type of monetary benefit. The fact that they keep talking about Mortal Kombat and then you saw it in this.
I'm really thrown off with that. I'm surprised. Out of all games, oh man, I don't know what's up with that.
Was it? I know they went to the arcade in the DLC. Was it Mortal Kombat also?
I believe it was a fighting game. I don't know. I don't remember if they showed the actual game, but you heard them, the commentator, the voices in the game and stuff like that.
And she had the poster in her room. And it's all about
the fighting games.
Yeah, I was.
But yet didn't know how to play the game. So,
well, they never played, and I can imagine that experience the first time. That I would definitely be wowed.
Yeah.
Or just to see all those games in general, because we don't know if she's ever seen an arcade game. We don't know if they had any of those in that compound that she was living in. So that could have been mind-blowing. But then again, here's the other thing. So they show the location. They show that it's one of those community areas that's in one of those zones. If you know that there's a mall, and I'm speaking on behalf of the higher-ups of this community, if you know there's a mall and it still has all this functional equipment with all those arcade machines, and then there was other stores there with clothing and all this, why is it sitting there? Gather all that over. And I know Riley made the comments like, oh, well, they said that it's full of infected. Well, these people got almost like an army. Just go in there, clear it out, and gather the resources. I mean, there's a carousel and stuff. You don't let the infected take over. You clear them out, and you secure the perimeter. You secure that area. Keep that mall, or at least gather the functional items out of there. Those arcade machines. I don't know, maybe it's just a gamer in me, but if I went there and I said, I saw this thing's working, like, get the truck, call back up. We're taking all this out. We're gonna put this in our location. We're not letting it sit here to rot.
Yeah, well, I agree. I don't know. One thing I will say though, if I have to say one positive about the episode, I do agree with what Carlos said. I like how they tied it together with Ellie's motivation because the whole scene where the episode started and Joel tells her to just go, just leave, and then she goes to the door and acts like if she's going to go out, and then they transition to the flashback, and then they highlight the fact that Riley never left her; she stayed with her. So she decided that she was going to go back and stay with Joel. I think they did a very good job tying that DLC into the actual episode for the show. So I have to give them credit for that. I just think, yeah, the mall stuff was maybe a little bit too long, as you both said. So,
I, I'm with Adam. I feel like they could have done a little bit more action scenes. With
mhm.
uh, I mean, they did in the DLC. I know I understand why they didn't put the Fedra people, um, because I think they're trying to get rid of as much of human conflict, so it won't get saturated like it does in the game. I mean, when you play the game, you're like a million people in that game, like not infected people. So I understand why they don't do that, but I wish they kind of you know they show the scene where the click. I don't know, was it a clicker? I
It
forget.
was an infected dude. It was one
It's
of the ones.
just a regular
Yeah,
infected dude.
yeah.
Um, I wish that that scene would have been a bigger part of the episode. I feel like they showed when it was waking up, so we knew, oh, okay, it's gonna show up, and then it attacked, and that scene lasted for like a minute, maybe. The whole thing, until they both get bitten, but Ellie takes it out. It took like a minute or two tops, so I feel like that could have been a little bit expounded about more, because the last two episodes kind of they kind of skimped on the action. So I wish one of these would have had more. But
Well,
yeah,
I just want to make a comment. I agree 100%. And I think that the three of us will agree that we know the reason why there wasn't a lot of action in this episode because the episode next week, that is the episode that I'm expecting to again be an excellent episode because we know what happens in the game at that point in time. But
mhm.
we'll see. We'll get to that because
And we thought
I
that
did.
they were gonna. In fact, they sort of teased that in episode at the end of episode 6 because
Mhm.
they showed her interact with the guy. Remember, it's like, oh, who are you, and the whole thing. It's like, oh, that's the other reason why I was like, oh, we're gonna see this in 7. And no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's true. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess I know they wanted to fit this story in here, the backstory about Ellie, and of course, there's probably still some more things we need to learn about Ellie as well, because we do know that Ashley Johnson is playing her mom. So I would assume that there's going to be some other flashbacks coming for her in the future. But I will say, for the most part, I thought it was an okay episode, not as good as some stuff that we've seen previously, but we'll see where they go from here. Now,
Yeah.
the main question I have for you two though is the delineations. Maybe you two can speak more about how they change things up because I noticed some changes, but you both probably noticed more changes. So I definitely want to get y'all opinions on that, as well as any other things you wanted to say about this episode.
I mean, I feel like this episode sticked a lot with the video game. The only things that I remember not happening or deviating from it is just the Fedra stuff, because they were running away from Fedra people, and that's how they got caught up with the infected. Um, but the same same type of way they got bitten. The same ending. They didn't show uh what is it? What's her name?
Riley.
Riley. They didn't show when Riley turned or anything like that, or
Mhm.
what even I don't think even sure what happened after that. They just were sitting together like they did in the episode, and that's just how it ended.
That I just want to say, to make it a truly heartbreaking, we probably should have gotten that of her turning and then Ellie having to take her out.
And
But I guess they didn't want to.
I thought they were hinting at that a few episodes back when they asked
Yep.
Ellie if she killed anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, and she was like, "Yeah, she had to kill someone." I was like, "Well, yeah, she's gonna bring up she had to kill Riley. She had to put her down." But they didn't show that. They didn't go in that direction.
Yeah, and I think they didn't spend in the game. They didn't spend as much time in the mall that they did in the show. In the show, they were at the mall for a long time.
Oh yeah, there was a lot more action in the game. A lot of remember that once they got there, a few minutes in, they were making too much noise, and that's when everything got triggered.
Yeah,
a lot of running around and stuff. And I get it, you can't show all the fighting and killing, but at least some of them, just show some stuff, takedowns, hiding in the stores and stuff. They put in so much time in that design. That mall looked amazing.
Oh yeah,
that set design.
Oh no, oh, no go ahead, Carlos.
After you. I was just gonna say yes. So I mean, when they showcased the mall after it got lit up, it looked amazing. I'm like, man, that looks incredible. They did a great job with the set design.
Oh yeah, and I was going to say because I know after the show was over, they had I did watch that little commentary on the episode, and they really was talking a lot about the set design for the mall. So that's why I guess they wanted to have all the action take place within there as opposed to outside, somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. But, oh yeah, they're like we put money into this thing, man. We gotta use every single bit of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
because in the game they do go outside, and I think that's where they got bit. I think it was during daytime. But yeah, there wasn't hardly any sort of deviations from the game. Even in the game, the part where it kicks off is when Joel, I think he falls off the horse or something, and I think that's where it starts. It triggers. But I like how they did it in the show better, because like Rich mentioned, it really really emphasized her motivations. And in the game, and obviously in the game, we didn't get to play that until after we beat the game, after we beat season 1. So it doesn't feel sort of the same like how it does with the show, where it's like, oh, we get the sneak the flashback, and then we understand her motivation, similar to how with Joel when we see his flashback in the beginning of the series, and we understand why he does some of the things that he does in the show.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I heard Adam said that this episode reminded him of an episode of Tales of the Walking Dead. What's going on with that, Adam?
Wait, what was that? What's the Tales of the Walking Dead? I'm lost. Wait,
I'm actually curious. Did you guys? I know we talked about it last episode, but were you guys expecting 95% just a flashback? I
think Adam was the one who predicted this correctly, because he said that they were going to combine the flashback with whatever's happening in the present. Mm-hmm. I was expecting the whole episode to be a flashback, and most of it was a flashback, but I was wondering how they were going to tie that into the present. So again, I think they did an excellent job with the way they did tie it into the present, because it would have been out of place. I thought the episode was going to start and they're going to this is a flashback. They don't say anything about what's happening in the present. So I'm glad they did it the way they did it, as far as putting it together.
Also, I do want to mention, and I didn't predict it because I thought it made more sense if if the first half of it was the flashback, and then the second half is her meeting what's his name, David.
Yeah.
And that part, but now it makes sense. Episode 9 is going to be that episode. I know Rich has been waiting for that for like 2 episodes now, so yeah, I'm also highly anticipating that as well.
Well, hold on. Wait a second. So episode 9 is the
You mean
last
episode
season
8?
finale.
Episode 8. My bad.
Yeah. I was gonna say, but what we do know from that trailer that we saw, it looked like that's the entirety of that
Yes.
whole story is going to be
Yes.
covered.
We did see it. We did see that diner. We saw the diner. But I also want to give props to this episode because I feel like they did for all of us that have been in teenage relationships, they got the awkwardness right. If they did that pretty well. So even though I'm not like I liked the damn, I'm blanking on their names, the 2 dudes that from episode 3.
For Bill and Frank.
Bill and Frank. I enjoy it because they're kind of similar. They're both like love stories. One is like a teenage love story. This one is a grown up love story, but both within the apocalypse. And it's just interesting. I enjoyed more Bill and Frank's sort of story than they did with this one. But they did get some aspects that I'm like oh yeah, that seems really believable. But yeah, pretty decent.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So did y'all have any other thoughts that you wanted to say about this particular episode before we talk a little bit more about the trailer for next week?
No, I mean it's yeah, man. I don't know. I just expected more from that whole thing. Even the way they teased it, it's like you see this huge mall. I was like, all right, well, they're going to use this mall. They put all this work into designing this set. They're going to go all out, and they didn't. We saw the carousel and arcade and stuff, but even when they encountered that one infected, it was in that one area, as opposed to game. They were all over the mall. They were running everywhere. It was getting crazy. They were coming from all angles, and they had to work together, do some stealth takedowns, and I was expecting to see that, like it was going to be big to see. And then it was a big escape scene where they were climbing on boxes. Remember, they're trying to climb to get to the roof to get out and the whole thing. And that's when it happened in the game, at least. And that would have been great to show here. And the sacrifice, and it was like her giving the gun. I was like, do it, make this happen. I can't. But we didn't get that. And even at the end, now I think about it, it didn't really feel like it's over. Like I have a feeling we're still gonna go back to this in some way. I don't think it's done with that whole flashback with Riley. I think we're still gonna see some more. And who knows? We may actually get everything that I just said. And the next one, they may go back to that and see, because remember they were both sitting there the last we saw them. We were just sitting there. I was like, all right, this is it.
Yeah,
but we could easily see them.
The DLC they didn't. That's how it ended there. Also,
she killed her.
Yeah.
They didn't show it.
We didn't know, but we didn't see that even hinted here. That's how it happened. She could have just left. She could have left it there. We didn't see that. She didn't pull a gun on her or on Riley. She didn't even know. Remember, that whole thing of her being immune, she didn't know that.
So it wasn't even implied in the show? I don't remember.
No. So that's why there was still.
Riley had said they had 3 options, and she was holding the gun that she was going to do it herself, and then she didn't do it. Then she just decided, well, we're just going to stay here together.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Wait.
So she didn't pull it on her. So they could easily in the next episode say, well, let's make the best of it. One of them is just make the best of it and just get out of there. And they could go down that road, but then I don't know. They're gonna have to figure something out, unless it's one of those. Well, you make the call, you decide. Then it doesn't make much sense. So what? She just at some point, Ellie decided, you know what? I think the best choice is option 4. I leave and you stay. And I was like, that's it. And I was like, why is that? Well, because I'm immune. Well, she doesn't know she's immune. She doesn't know that at this point. This is it. This is when it happened. And eventually, we know she does go back, because that's when this whole thing gets figured out. But wait a minute. No. That's not how it happened. Because then the original Firefly, who finds her, who's the handler, is the one that sees that she got bit, and it's like, oh, she hasn't turned, but Riley has. So then this whole thing explains, well, now we got to bring you out of here. Now we got to go get you to the doctors, and that goes the whole full thing of, I got to find somebody that can get you out of here. Let's hire Joel.
But didn't you say that she shot Riley?
But that's what I'm saying that they're going to do in the show. That's what I'm thinking in the show. That's not how it happened in the game. In the game,
but it didn't happen in the game.
She did. But it wasn't like this. It wasn't in this scenario. They were running from the creatures and the infected, and she got bit, and it was a whole to do. You remember, they were like trying to get out to like a roof.
Yeah. Well, they were outside. And I remember they did the exact same scenes that they did in the TV show, and when she gives the options, and then she didn't, like, they decide to just wait it out. Ellie never. There's never implied that she shot her.
Well, she turned. We see Riley turn in the game. She turned.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, she turned. I'll look it up afterwards.
Interesting. Okay, I honestly don't remember this.
Well, one thing I will say is, because going back to what Adam said, because they had that conversation between her and Joel in episode 4, I do wish that we saw her having to take her down, because again, that would emphasize, because there's some people that are going to make the assumption that that's what it was, but there are some people that are still going to be confused as to, so what was that conversation about? They're not going to fully understand that. So I wish that they did make it very clear that she did have to take her down, because that would have been a better way to just finalize it, so that no one has to speculate on what actually happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. Other than that, I don't have much more thoughts. I enjoyed parts of the episode. I did feel some of it was a little bit stretched out. I'm with Adam. The mall was so well designed, and it was bright and colorful, and it looked so like really good. And I wish they would have had a lot more scenes in various locations. Kind of reminded me of Stranger Things, in Stranger Things when they go to the mall and do all that stuff. I wish they kind of would have done it here. The stuff they did, the arcade stuff, the carousel, it's pretty good. The Victoria's Secret stuff was funny. So it was good.
Yeah. See, so real quick, so I just looked it up just to confirm. Yeah, it was the same thing. They stood together, and then just like what happened with Sam, when Ellie wakes up, she sees that she turned, but she hasn't. She sees Raleigh has turned, and she had to put her down.
Oh, you gotta send me this.
You just type in Google, like, how did she die? How did Raleigh die?
You send me a link. I'm bad at Googling. I'm better at ChatGPT.
So I guess we're not going to see that. ChatGPT. Careful.
Yeah, no, they may still show it. Anything's possible. They may still show it.
Well,
we may go back to that. It may be a quick scene, because I still think that's what they're going to have to say. It's like, she did kill somebody, and I think that was it, because that was the first time that she actually got to use a weapon. Because remember, she was saying that we were doing gun training back at the base. She was like, oh yeah, so we can kill fireflies. She at that point never shot anyone.
Yeah, and see, it probably would have made sense to show that, because we know in that next episode, somebody has to use a weapon. So that's I guess we'll have to wait and see if it is revisited. But it feels as though that actress Storm Reed that plays Riley, it feels like we're not going to see her again on the show. But we'll see what happens. Go ahead, Carlos.
Was the part with the officer, was that in the game? I don't remember that.
The
officer.
meeting? No. Talking about
Yeah,
being an officer or
Yeah, no, that
and the
wasn't in the
fight
game.
and the whole thing with the
Yeah.
fight with the girl. That was not in it.
yeah. I didn't remember that. So it's so I guess that they did that to imply that Ellie was, could have been meant to be a Fedra agent instead, and
Yep.
what turns out being working with the Fireflies. Okay, that's not bad. It's not bad. I like that inclusion.
Absolutely. So well, okay, so before we get to our scores for this episode, let's
Oh,
talk briefly. Let's talk briefly about the trailer, because the trailer for the next episode, there was a lot of stuff that was in that trailer. I just want to ask, what are y'all initial impressions? Are you looking forward to the next episode, or do you think they're going to deviate from some stuff as well, as far as that whole story is concerned?
I don't trust any of these trailers now. I don't trust any of them. Everything that they showed us could easily happen in the last episode. It may not even pop up because they had showed David in the trailer, the teaser for this episode, and he wasn't brought up until the very end for the next teaser trailer. I was really thinking that the whole point of this, get this part out of the way, the connection with Riley is shooting someone, this and that, and she's out there looking for supplies and food, and then she comes across David, and it's like, oh, hello there, and then poof, it's done. There you go. We didn't even get that. So that means they have to cram all of that in episode 8, because we know episode 9, and now we don't know. Now I think about it, we don't know, because now I think about it, toward the last part of the game, it was heavy on the action. Remember, it was a lot of gunfight, a lot of shooting, running, shooting. It was an action game. They cut pretty much all the drama. It was just an action game. Well, we know that's not going to happen in this, because they're focused heavily on just the drama aspect. So they'll probably structure this out into 9, and then maybe the end is not going to be as long as it was in the game. Because, like I said, a lot of it was action. Well, if you cut that out, then you don't really have much of that. It's going to be just maybe some stealth stuff, but then they can get away with it.
They definitely could get away with it. I would hope that season finale is a little bit longer than an hour, because the season premiere was longer than an hour. So I would hope that the final episode of the season also is a little bit longer. But again, I don't know how they're going to handle that. But this next episode, they have a lot of stuff they need to fit in there. And based off of that trailer, it looks like that entire story is going to be wrapped up by the end of episode 8. So I would like to see how that all comes together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, you always start with calls to the. I gotta get this out the way just for the score.
Yeah.
It's a 7. It's a 7. It's
Whoa!
I always go in 8.5 or something. I remember I thought this would be a 9. I was like, that's got to be all 9s and 10s. Like a Olympic diver, and they all lift up the scores. I was like, this has to be it.
Looks like you're the Russian judge.
And I can't. All that. I take offense. You know about my heritage. So listen. I take. Yeah, it's upsetting. It's upsetting because they have so much to cover, so much ground to cover, and it sucks. It's sort of like with not Game of Thrones, because I didn't read the books, but with Lord of the Rings, I read the Lord of the Rings, and when I remember watching the movie from reading, I'm like, there's so much to cover here. How are we gonna do this? Oh, I know you're gonna do this. You're gonna structure this out 3 movies, and all this. We don't have that amount of time here. If they would have said, hey, we're doing The Last of Us TV show based off of the game. Okay, well, how long? Well, I don't know, until we tell the story. Then I can sit back, no stress, not worry. Be like, hey, tell me a story. Tell me, spew it. But no, we know the end game. We know the finish line is fast approaching. And then I'm looking at the source material. I'm like, how are you gonna close the gap? Things have to be cut. And I'm assuming that it's going to be all of the action, and we've seen a lot of the action, and it have been cut out with Infected or with other groups and stuff. And it's worked out for the best. I have no problems with that, but I don't want, and my fear is that the ending is going to approach and it's going to feel rushed, or the way they ended for someone who has not played the game is going to interpret it as to be continued. You know what I mean? When they see it, and I don't want that. I don't want that.
Well, I am concerned about that because they already said season 2 was about the second game. So I don't know how they're going to do this. One thing I will say though, there should be a hell of a lot of action in the next episode because it's not just you're not just having to deal with one group of people. It's a lot of things that happen. So I would expect to see a lot of stuff.
I mean, they showed the character, and conflict is how the issues with David gets resolved.
Yeah, and they also did show Troy Baker playing one of the other characters that's a part of David's group. So that I'll be very curious to see how that all comes together.
Oh boy!
But so you give this episode a 7. So how about you, Carlos?
Well, I give this episode a 7.5.
But Nudie Berry.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I can't really say that it's bad or anything like that. It was good. Some aspects were good. I felt, like I mentioned before, it just felt a little bit dragged out. I wish the flashback would have been, around half an hour, maybe just a little bit more for the whole episode runtime. Wish there was more action and just kept me more engaged because the whole just walking around the mall part. While it had some cool aspects, the pun book and stuff like that was fun, but it can only keep me engaged so much.
Yeah. I fully understand that, and I also would give it a 7.5 because again, for the same reasons, the mall stuff was just dragged on too long, and again, I would have given it a higher score if they showed that scene of her having to take out Riley, because I kind of feel like you come full circle, the characters love each other, now all of a sudden you have to take the person out. That would have made it even more emotional. So I don't know why they didn't show that, but it is what it is. But
they're gonna have to. I think they're gonna have to, unless no, they have to. They have to only because they have to go full circle with Ellie saying that she's killed someone before.
Yeah,
you can't have it where it's in the future, and no. You have to go into the past and point to it.
So here's a question. Would you both be disappointed if she just says, "Oh yeah, I had to kill Riley," instead of them showing her actually killing Riley?
She hasn't told anybody this story. That's the thing. We saw it, but it's not like she was telling Joel a story while he's injured. Like, let me tell you a story, to get your mind off of your stabbing. Yes, but no one knows about this. It's not even a question of like, well, whatever happened when you and that girl went to. They don't even know that she went to the mall. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's no lead up to the question. So if there's no lead up to the question, then there's no question to be asked. So I don't think it'll ever come up. And maybe we'll find out if all is said and done, that maybe this was just a flaw in the storytelling and the writing. They wrote it in the script where she said that one line, but they never followed up with the response to that. And then the outcome of proving, well, this is who I killed. Mm-hmm. Because, in the future, she kills a bunch of people. She's helping Joel and all kinds of craziness. But that's it. She said she had done that prior to meeting Joel.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, we'll see.
And she said it with a sad face when that scene was said. So all of it connects that, it's definitely Riley. This is it. Unless they put a twist on it and it's like, oh, no, she killed one of the infected and that impacted her. But that's not going to be the same as her putting down an infected Riley.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a much more emotional toll for that. So we'll see. But yeah, I think that concludes our review of season 1, episode 7, Left Behind. So, do any of you want to give any shout outs before we wrap up this show?
Yeah, shout outs to the Koalition. Shout outs to Throwdown, which you can catch me and Adam uh, twice a week on the Throwdown show on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch, on anything pretty much, all the podcasting platforms. Make sure to catch us there. And shout out to Rich and the Coalition, who always doing their thing, and you know, keep on talking Last of Us until it completes, and then we'll continue with I Am Negan and the Walking Dead universe. We also cover that stuff also here on the Coalition channel, so on the Coalition website. So make sure to stay tuned for that afterwards.
Definitely. How about you, Adam?
Yeah, that's coming back in April. That's it. That Dead City. That's with Negan and Maggie. That spinoff. So I'm looking forward to that. What, Rich?
Oh, actually, I have some unfortunate news to share. That show has now been moved. It has been moved to June now. Apparently, because I saw a trailer. Yeah, I saw a trailer yesterday.
Wait,
so we're gonna have to cover Fear the Walking Dead before we get to Dead City.
What's the date for that one now? I thought that was the show after. I thought that was like May.
Yeah, it is. It is in May. So this is coming after that. Apparently now in June because
so there's nothing coming in April.
Day. No, nope.
This is ridiculous.
Well, it's trying to move out of the way of Succession or something.
No, they got all that, and they just finished up all the AMC shows. They just finished up the Mayfair Witches. Mm-hmm. And I get it. They have a lot of other shows they've been bringing up, but man, this is a big drought. This is the longest in the history of Walking Dead that we haven't gone months. Because remember, they had that cycle: Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, and they would sprinkle some little webisodes and some other stuff in between, and
World Beyond and Tales.
Yeah, they put World Beyond and Tales, and now what's up with this? Now this is getting pushed, but we know they wrapped production unless there's something going on with adding special effects or doing something. But they wrapped this months ago. We saw that tweet where Henry Dean Morgan posted up. It's like, "Yep, just finished last set. This is it."
Is that Jeffrey Dean Morgan's brother or?
Wait, I said maybe I messed up on his name. Yeah, it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan. There we go.
Yeah. So Negan's not going to be happy to hear about this. Yeah. Well, we'll see. But yeah, and yeah, I'll just give a shout out again. Thank you for everybody for checking out these discussions. I would also encourage you once again, leave your comments. Let us know what you think about the show, and thank you for your continued support. Have a great week, and we will talk to you all next week.
All right. Peace.